me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? Need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I've got strategies, I got strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
Oh, you know we need them. Yeah, we need those strategies, don't we? Those strategies for living. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
Oh, I'm ready.
I knew you'd be ready today. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. She is psychotherapist, PLPC Lauren Leon McMillian. And we are joined. It's always a treat when Gary Tiemann manages to show up.
It's always a treat for me. I appreciate it.
You just, at our age, we just appreciate being anywhere, don't we?
We got another day.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So, welcome, Gary. Welcome back. You know, you almost need no introduction anymore, but licensed clinical social worker in the community for years and years and years, kind of one of the deans, if you will.
Well, I appreciate that, but I know we've been here a long time. We go way back with our history in the therapy community here in Shreveport.
We do. And you know, since you got involved with Dr. Walter Simcoe and his work, not only did you arrange for us to have him as a life strategist a couple of times, but since Walter's untimely passing, you and a group have been making sure that work continues. And you are so wonderful about bringing life strategists here, like you're doing today with Dr. Janna Weiss.
I am thrilled that this is our first time to have Janna here.
Yeah.
And she's my, expert Buddhist and knows as much about Buddhism as anyone I know, knows as much about reincarnation as anyone I know. And it's a thrill for me to have her come join us today.
And she's an acupuncturist, I understand.
In fact,
that has always fascinated me. Yeah.
And she's been involved with so many things. And in fact, I want to let Janna tell you about the highlights that she wants to focus on.
We will do that. So Dr. Janna Weiss, our life strategist today. Folks, thank you for tuning into Strategies for Living. We appreciate you being here with us, and we appreciate our sponsors who make it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Pintail Roofing, Learning RX, We Train Your Brain, the Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, Alligator Italian Sausage, and some pretty good muffies too, SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. Back in a moment with Dr. Janna Weiss here on Strategies for Living.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem drab. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome into your daily dose of radio rehab. We call it Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, Gary Tiemann, and we're glad to have you along with us. You brought a wonderful guest today, Gary, so I'm going to let you introduce Dr. Janna Weiss.
Well, I can only do so much of that because she's got such a resume. And Janna, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your background and maybe lead that into how you met Dr. Senkyu.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a joy to be here.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you.
Meet you. So the doctor is a PhD in biological sciences, botany. I'm an ethnobotanist from the University of Texas at Austin. And for the last 18 years or so, I've been doing human rights and doing what I can to promote world peace and other human rights issues that are some of them less known. For example, supporting the Tibetans. I think that if the Tibetans have their freedom, there'll be world peace. So there are two cases that brought me to Walter, and one of them was a Druze boy. That's Druze. I encountered online on YouTube, and his name was O'Neill. And it was an extraordinary case of xenoglossy. This boy who grew up in an Arabic-speaking environment started speaking. He didn't speak anything until he was 2. And then he spoke in gibberish. And then from gibberish, he went to fluent English with a British accent.
Wow.
Whoa.
And when I saw this on YouTube, I thought, oh, this is extraordinary. And Jim Tucker and Walter need to know about this, University of Virginia and Walter. So I offered to translate the whole video, and Walter replied. And so I translated the whole transcript, and Walter didn't think it was real. And eventually he came around after we spoke a few times. And then the other thing that brought me to Walter a second time was that I had written to the Anne Frank Center here in New York City because I had discovered on Walter's website about Barbara Carlin, who is the reincarnation of Anne Frank. And I thought that this was absolutely extraordinary and that the world needs to know about it. So I wrote to the Anne Frank Center, and I forwarded the email to Walter. And Walter introduced me to Barbara and by email, and the three of us emailed for a while. And it was through that letter that I wrote that he invited me to be part of the Reincarnation Research Advisory Board.
And of course, that's where you and Gary met each other, and you're doing such important work today, that board, in bringing forward, and you can see the fruit of that at reincarnation.info. What Walter started and what you guys have continued is a treasure trove about reincarnation. It is the place to go. Yes, there's book after book that we can go to, but the site reincarnation.info is extremely. I think Walter was so far ahead of his time in putting that together.
Oh, absolutely, and not only is it so interesting information wise, but I also, for those of us that have more of a streak about gossip and such, it's kind of like,
oh, not you, Gary.
It's
not you and me.
Hollywood gossip. It's kind of like People Magazine in 3D.
It is.
Yeah, sure.
It is.
Yeah.
You get the backstory, and I find it so much more fascinating when you see the progression of how people's lives and multiple lives complement each other and leads to where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just had this past, in the last few days, a very prominent golfer got into a problem again.
Oh.
And, so I don't know if he's in the archive or not.
I don't know his case.
But let's say his case were, that might give you some insight into what was going on.
And as a psychotherapist, I'm always looking for and trying to understand, how did people get to the place that they're at?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And understanding that there are multiple lives at play here helps me have a bigger, better picture and understanding of people, and also respecting that what shows up in front of us in our life isn't a mere coincidence.
Yeah.
These people are people we probably have been interacting with and working through
For
things
lifetime
For
after
centuries.
lifetime. Yeah.
for many.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so and Janna has been so instrumental in promoting not only Walter's stuff, but she's been contributing in other ways along the same lines for how many years have you been doing this now, Janna? Not to give away your age, of course, but
Well, specifically the reincarnation.
and your work with Buddhism, Tibet House, and I kind of lump all of that together. And that if you're studying Buddhism, you're studying reincarnation as well.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I started off as a skeptic. I was very Western oriented with a training in biological sciences and in chemistry, even from high school. And so I didn't believe in it. I mean, I didn't even know whether there was reincarnation. The question didn't concern me at all.
Right.
And now I've come to the totally opposite side, you could say. I meditated for years, and then I started studying Tibetan Buddhism over 20 years ago with the Tibetan teachers. And, I just thought that the Dalai Lama's reincarnation was some quaint religious belief. I didn't think that there was any scientific basis for it, I never thought that it really existed. But then when I started studying with the teachers and realizing and through them that this was actually something real, it's like, wow, how can you even do biological sciences without understanding what a person is?
Mm-hmm.
That a person is a living organism, isn't just a bunch of nuts and bolts. It's not plumbing. That we have a consciousness, and this consciousness, also continues after we're gone. So this became very interesting to me. One of my teachers said, "Oh, go take a look at this video about this Scottish boy who remembered his past life, and he was touring what he remembered from his previous life, living along the sea, visiting this house with Jim Tucker, and his case is an unsolved case." But from there, I just started exploring more, and now I've come to the realization, that this is a really important issue. It's important for biology, it's important for science, and it's also for the Tibetan people. The reincarnation of the Dalai Lama is a major, major issue.
Yes.
That's a contentious issue because the Chinese have been appointing fake or imposter lamas, and they're communists, and they don't believe in reincarnation at all. So it's absurd.
Right.
So this issue of reincarnation is really something that we should know about, but not only for political reasons or not only for scientific reasons, but also it challenges our sense of this independent, solid self. Mm-hmm. If we're continually changing from lifetime to lifetime, and if we can be reborn in different cultures, like Anne Frank was reborn a Christian in Sweden. Right. So she totally changed religion, changed, country, ethnicity, and so forth from lifetime to lifetime. So if we know this, we can start to view each other differently and maybe with greater respect and humility.
Yes. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
That's our whole purpose in all of this,
And talk about world peace. Mm-hmm. That would bring us a whole lot closer to world peace.
Amen. And if we really understood, that karma is a real thing, and it's not punishment, it's more of a corrective action. In fact, I feel so inadequate when I'm talking about this stuff, and Janna's on the line. So,
well, I'll ask both of you. I'll ask both of you what would be a good working definition of karma.
You want to take that, Janna, before I jump in?
Yeah, karma is our the imprints on our consciousness from previous lifetimes or from our past actions, as well as our habits of mind. So until we're enlightened, our mind is contaminated by mental afflictions. We see the world through our self-grasping, and we project hatred or strong affinity, affection,
Anger,
what do you call
or
it?
yeah.
Well, on the love side, the hedonic love, as opposed to the agape. So we project this onto our surroundings, and this creates these imprints on the mind. Our experiences are based from how we view ourselves. And the Dalai Lama, in his statement on the issue of his reincarnation that he issued in 2011, he said we take rebirth in two ways: by the power of karma and our habits of mind, our mental afflictions, and by the power of compassion and prayer. So the Dalai Lama's favorite prayer is, as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And it's with that motivation and with the aspirations of many people who want to receive the next reincarnation that he takes rebirth lifetime after lifetime, and he's the 14th Dalai Lama. So we can purify all these mental afflictions and any negative karma, the seeds of our past actions that can sprout when they encounter different conditions in this lifetime and in future lifetimes. We can purify that through strong resolve not to repeat these actions.
Talk about good news. Dr. Janna Weiss with us today here on Strategies for Living. Reincarnation.info is where you can go and get a lot more information. But stay with us, because I can guarantee you there's a lot more to come here on Strategies for Living today. Stay here.
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you wanna holler, get away. Looking for the road that'll get me there. Looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
And welcome back in to Strategies for Living. Gary Tiemann and Lauren Leon McMillian. I'm David McMillian. We are joined by life strategist Dr. Janna Weiss today. And I'm fascinated, Janna, that one of the issues that you are passionate about, obviously, as many other people are, is world peace. Because right now, if we step back and look at our planet, we're not in world war, but there are wars all over the world. And I suppose we could easily be, cross that threshold and be into world war.
We're in a very tenuous place right now with all of that.
Yeah. So what can reincarnation advise us and point us to in the quest for world peace and in the quest to quell war?
So what comes to mind, I think I'll back up for a moment and say that, first of all, our lives are impermanent and death is definite. And so if we're just a little more patient, we don't necessarily need to kill each other, because even those people that we don't like, their time will come. So that's first of all.
That's a good way to say
it.
and then there's so much grief and there's so much loss associated with war. And any reflection on death and dying is beneficial to recognize our own impermanence and the impermanence of others, and then to value each other's lives that much more. But recently, I read two extraordinary books. One by Benjamin Carreau. He's a French gentleman. His last name is French, Carraud. He's actually half British, half French. And he was a Waffen SS officer for the Nazis in his previous lifetime. He fought with the Totenkopf. And he discovered this because he started to have these intruding flashbacks in this lifetime. He was walking through the streets of Shanghai when all of a sudden he sees himself in the middle of urban warfare, leading men and danger on every side and crumbling buildings. And it was in broad daylight as he was walking through the street that he calls them flashbacks. And he thought he was losing his mind. He went back to France and he started, trying to figure out what this is and what to do about it. And eventually he ended up researching who he was in a previous lifetime. The most extraordinary thing is there's another fellow who preceded him. His name is Stefan Alix, also French, Allix, Stefan, Stephan, I believe, maybe E at the end. And he was also a Nazi Waffen SS officer in his previous lifetime in the Totenkopf, in the Death Head division of the Nazis, 2 people. And he had issues with anger and kind of explosive anger that was affecting his relationships. And he had to go work on his own shadow side and figure out what was going on with him. So he went to Peru and he took some mild ayahuasca, and on day 3 or 4 or 5, I no longer recall, of this retreat in a hut in Peru, all of a sudden he saw himself in a battlefield in snow, and he got the name of a person, and he went and researched and found that person. So they each researched and they each connected with their families from their previous lifetimes.
Wow.
And but the emotional intensity of both of these people dealing with such severe trauma that carried into their next lifetime to the point where it was intruding and interfering with their relationships and with their experiences and their ability to function on a daily basis, like Benjamin Corot, who was having these PTSD, basically flashbacks, but they weren't from this life.
Right.
So, and then the whole healing process that they went through, in the end, neither they nor the reader could end up hating the person, the horrible person that they were, in the sense that they perpetrated these terrible deeds, but they were also victims of their circumstances, victims of the sides they were on and the calling of the time and the way, the Nazi Germany at that time, what could a young man do? There was no work, there was nothing else.
Right.
And so for various reasons, people ended up doing what they were doing.
Right.
And this affects the soul, it affects the consciousness, it affects our heart mind, these terrible actions that were committed at the time, really in a very unfeeling way. And so Benjamin Corot also remembers the transition state after he died, when he flew up over the battlefield after he was shot and killed inside a tank. And he stayed on the battlefield for that battle waged on for 4 days, but he stayed floating over this battlefield as more and more souls joined him where he was already dead. And he talks about how his whole experience in the transition state, dealing with the painful memory of having killed someone. And so I think that it can be really healing for people to, not only to see an Anne Frank, who was, quite pure, and with her intention of, seeing common humanity, and then reincarnating as child prodigy Barbara Carlin, who became a writer from the youngest age, not only seeing that kind of continuation of positive deeds, but also an appreciation for those of us who are stuck in the quagmire of opposing sides, and how we can, maybe in this lifetime, start to take a deeper look within ourselves to heal those hurt places that cause us to hurt others.
It certainly invites us to step back and to look at humanity underneath whatever decisions we might have made this lifetime. Are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? As an example.
Yeah.
And as a psychotherapist, all these things that Janna's saying, it befuddles me how this isn't a relevant part of mainstream psychology.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
This
know,
is such a huge part of the human psyche.
yes.
Yeah.
And you see the symptomology, and it goes back, and there's reasons. And, you know, we've talked before about, I was on the mental health team at Angola, and without exception, when I knew the person's story, I understood how they got there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And so this just takes it to another level.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask both of you a question, Janna, you and Gary, you. You're making a great point. How far away are we from getting to that place where that gets incorporated into
More mainstream, so to speak.
We got a long way to go.
yeah.
I can't say, although with mass media and internet and, you know, the communication technology of today and AI, you know, maybe that can not just be used to harm, but can be used to accelerate some kind of awareness, just like you're doing with the radio.
Well, you know, and my deal with reincarnation and putting it forth actually precedes my relationship with Gary. And I don't know whether I think I shared with you.
We go way back.
Yeah, we go way back. But I had Dr. Brian Weiss
Oh, yeah.
on the program a couple of times, I think before you and I met. And it was absolutely, we had a couple of fascinating conversations.
A couple of good cases.
And we had, he shared a number of cases. And I remember asking him, because he's an MD, he's a psychiatrist.
Ivy trained.
Ivy League trained. And I remember asking him if he, where he stood on is reincarnation a fact or not? And he basically said, I'm going to paraphrase, he basically said, I don't care because my patients get better. And that's what I care about. Yeah.
A very practical kind of guy.
Yeah.
It's, in terms of your question as to, you know, how far away are we? I think there's not only the technological revolution that connects us, but also there's more awareness and popularization of meditation and looking within.
Yes.
You know, everybody wants to some relief of stress, and the science shows, you know, the neuroscience and the psychological research and so forth all show that if we take a pause and look within, you know, then we can, you know, heal ourselves. But that's also healing, you know, to our relationships. It's healing much broader than that.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends how deeply one looks within.
Yes.
And how many people do that.
Well, and that, quite honestly, is the reason that I continue to feature programs about reincarnation, because my hope is I don't want to proselytize or evangelize to anybody. I just want people to be curious. And you're making a great point, Janna. I think I'm hearing you say there's a proliferation of information out there. If one gets curious, then there's all kinds of help available to dive into, including now reincarnation.info.
And, you know, we tend to have in our human condition prejudice, and we've got some...
not us.
we have some prejudice in the Western world that we have to get past and deal with the reality. And, you know, and one of the things I love about Buddhism that it's been compared to the scientific method. It's scientific method applied to spirituality is kind of the simple way I think about it.
Yeah. Well, we are we're learning a great deal today. I would invite anyone who's listening to go and check out reincarnation.info. And our two life strategists today are instrumental in continuing the work of Dr. Walter Simcoe, who started reincarnation.info. And that's Gary Tiemann and Dr. Janna Weiss. She is our life strategist today. We got to take a quick break and pay some bills, and we'll come back. We've got more to share here on Strategies for Living. Don't go away.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies, strategies, strategies for living radio.
And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living Radio. You know, every time you show up, Gary Tiemann,
It's always a great show.
You show up with fascinating guests. Today is no different. Dr. Janna Weiss is our life strategist, and Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian with you, and delighted that you can keep showing up.
I feel very blessed with some of the people that I've had the privilege of getting to know, and Janna is certainly one of them.
So our producer is four-legged.
Thank you. That was our producer's not only four-legged, but he's part Tibetan Spaniel.
Right? I didn't even think about that.
He used to guard the monasteries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Janna, what is the Tibetan view on reincarnation between species and animals like that?
So the Buddhists and the Hindus, which is a large segment of humanity, do say that we not only evolve spiritually, but we can devolve based on our thought, speech, and action. And therefore, it's so important to guard and protect and to observe and to be thoughtful of our thought, speech, and action. And the animal realm, you can see the suffering in the animal realm, you know, the wide variety of beings who it's basically eat or be eaten for many. And the conditions are so rough for so many. And so that's not a good place to end up. And then the chances of being reborn as a human, if we have such an unfortunate fate in a future lifetime, are quite slim. And the Buddhists say that the causes and the main causes and conditions for us taking rebirth as a human is our ethical behavior. So the neuroscientists say, you know, you need to be ethical and kind in order to be happy. You know, if you go to Greater Good Science Center, for example, and you read about, you know, kindness and neuroscience. But the Buddhists say that the consequences are not only for this lifetime, but also for future lifetimes. There are some cases of animal reincarnation in the literature, and I guess I should say that not everyone in our group agrees about this. In fact, I'm the only one who talks about this in our group. You know, there are other views on reincarnation that once a human, always a human.
Right.
So there's not agreement, and you know, I think the scientific research on reincarnation, you know, is worth developing more and looking into more so that we can ascertain what is the reality.
Sure.
And the reincarnation is a hidden phenomenon. It's not something that's easily observed or easily studied.
Right.
So, you know, karma is a hidden phenomenon. It's not something that's also easily observed and recognized. So I gave a presentation a few years back called The Science of Reincarnation, and I was astounded to find in the scientific literature several cases of children who remembered being animals in their previous lifetimes. So there's one case of a boy, I think it was in Thailand, if I'm not mistaken. It's in Jim Tucker's book, Return to Life. And the boy remembers having been a deer, and after he was a deer, he was a snake. And he remembered living in a particular cave, and that snake had been killed by a man. And he was reborn as a boy, and he recognized that man in the village. And he pointed it out to his parents and said, I was a snake in a previous lifetime, and that man is the man who killed me. And he didn't want to have anything to do with that guy. He wanted to stay away from him. Sure. And as a young boy growing up, he went about killing snakes because he said that being a snake is such a terrible rebirth. It's such a terrible body to be in. But eventually he stopped killing snakes, and he would go to that cave to meditate, and he became a healer and would give the villagers herbs, and he became a healer in his village. And he was also born with a condition called ichthyosis, this scaly-like skin condition on the lower half of his body. So that's an extraordinary case. that case was pointed out to Ian Stevenson, but Ian Stevenson didn't want to hear anything about it. And it was, I'm sorry, the name of this wonderful Buddhist eludes me right now, who was interested in studying reincarnation, and he went there and documented the case and spoke to several people who knew the boy, not only to the boy, but to the family and other people in the village, to confirm that this was in fact the case. And another story in Jim Tucker's book that's in the literature is a boy whose mother gave him a candy necklace. And when he got the candy necklace, he said, "Oh, when I was a chimpanzee in a zoo, somebody gave me one of these and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to do with it."
Wow.
And then he never spoke about it again. So there's very little, and of course, we don't hear from the animals about their previous lifetimes as humans. And then as I was researching it, you mentioned your dog. So as I was researching for that talk, I found online a Chinese woman whose dog had just died, and 9 months later she gave birth to a child, and that dog had a mark on its left wrist, on its paw, and her baby was born with a specific mark, like a birthmark on that left wrist, and so she thought that that baby was her dog from a previous lifetime.
Wow.
Because of course, so that's what's available in the literature. And I guess I should also say that I'm, of our group, I'm one of the ones who doesn't really talk about anything that I might know about my previous lifetimes. I just kind of focus on the science and on what the teachers say and the cases and what's so forth.
You know, and that was very much when I remember the interviews that I had with Dr. Simku. He has a fascinating story, which he's written about, but he didn't like to talk about it in media, and we kind of stayed away from there, even though it's fascinating.
And he was such a humble guy, as brilliant as he was such a humble guy. And, I think about when and his famous story was that when he discovered that he was the reincarnation of John Adams.
Right.
And in his humility, that was kind of not his nature to talk about, in a prideful way about any of that.
Yeah.
Right. And I suppose that's the reason he wanted to stay away from it in media, because, you never know what we're going to ask.
But at the same time, he was such a scientist, he knew that we can't ignore this.
Right, and he didn't. He wrote a book about it.
Yes.
So I like that. And I just want to say publicly thank you to you, Janna Weiss, and you, Gary Tiemann, for being part of a group. And I know you're part of a group, an entire group of people who are continuing Walter Simku's work, and you're making sure that work lives on, and that resource, which is reincarnation.info, not only lives on, but flourishes and develops more. So thank you.
Yes.
I think I can speak for Janna that we have some inspiration about doing this work.
Yeah. We're talking about reincarnation today with Dr. Janna Weiss and with Gary Tiemann, and we'll be back here on Strategies for Living. And welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, with Gary Tiemann and with Dr. Janna Weiss. We've had a fascinating conversation. I'm going to ask Gary, you and Janna, to kind of summarize. What do you really want to leave with people who have listened to our conversation today?
Well, on one hand, it's very interesting, fascinating stuff, and it's, at one level, it's even entertaining. But on the other hand, this is so relevant and has so many implications about life and about science that as scientists, we're all social scientists here. We have an obligation to explore and expand on this. Janna, does that sound right to you?
Absolutely. I think it's essential for us to know what the reality is and what the world we live in, what we are, who we are, you know, as organisms, but also reincarnation is a path to peace. I think that that's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If we'll just step back and invite ourselves to be curious and to be students, and we do a little research, and reincarnation.info is a great place to start that research. You might be surprised at how your life might change for the better.
And I think you'll be surprised too about when you really get into it, how many of these ideas you can find threads of it in Christianity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Gary, Janna, thank you so much for being great life strategists here on Strategies for Living. And folks, thank you. Thank you for joining in with us. We appreciate our sponsors who make it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, We Train Your Brain. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, Alligator Italian Sausage, pretty good Muffies too, SRT Sales Training, Uprising, Addiction Center, and Mira, Direct Primary Care. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Janna Weiss, for Gary Tiemann, for Lauren Leon McMillian, I'm David McMillian. See you next time, right here on Strategies for Living.